Hey guys, this is Tanner Invest here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about the Clarity Act. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I think for you guys out there that are interested in crypto, I think it's pretty exciting because it's going to allow for a lot more institutions to be able to want to not only dip their little pinky toe in the water, they're going to be able to maybe put their whole foot in, maybe jump in, because there's still a lot of regulation that needs to be passed for crypto to boom. Now, we know Tom Lee has been calling out these crazy price targets like 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, 20,000 for Ethereum. We've heard Bitcoin 200,000, 250,000, etc. Well, a lot of these people out there, they know not only what Wall Street's thinking, but they know what the US legislation and they know what's happening behind the curtain there as well. So I think that Tom Lee and all these other people out there that have these high price targets on cryptocurrency kind of understand the importance of getting this regulation in place so that we can just go off in the races. Okay. So first, let's talk about the Genius Act, because a lot of people are like, well, the Genius Act's already in place and that's kind of what that was doing. Well, not really. So the Genius Act was kind of like the left jab, while in my opinion, the Clarity Act is more like what's it called when you punch someone's jaw? Yeah, that thing. I'm not into boxing. I just thought that was a good analogy. So you kind of need both in place. And I'm actually going to get to a couple videos from the CEO of Galaxy Digital. I have a couple senators where I pulled clips about them talking about it. So it's not just me. This is their words, okay? But first, let's talk about the Genius Act and what that was. So in July, we passed the Genius Act. The Genius Act was a groundbreaking piece of legislation because it was basically the first bipartisan yes to cryptocurrency being in any type of bill or act out there. So that's great. But the Genius Act was primarily focused on stable coins, which stable coins obviously are a big part of crypto, a big part of Ethereum. Yes. And it allowed for a few things. It basically passed that it now requires stablecoin issuers to hold one-to-one with some sort of high quality liquid asset like cash, treasuries, etc. But it also made them comply with a lot of the rules that are in place currently, like anti-money laundering rules. They have to now apply for and obtain federal licensing. They also have to ensure consumer protection, etc. Things that are super important and seem like duh. Well, that still needs to be placed in the law because crypto is a bit different than cash, right? So, and the whole entire market needs to adjust what crypto is bringing. Okay. So now the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act is interesting because it is just basically what it's saying. The Clarity is providing more clarity behind the market structure of cryptocurrency. So I'm going to go ahead and play a clip here about why these two are important, and let me hear your thoughts.
We're lagging without this structure in place.
That's right. We can't be competitive and lead the nation in fintech if we don't have this market framework. I told President Trump back in July that if you sign the Genius Act and you pass it, it's like passing a bill that authorizes the use of a cell phone, but you have no cell towers. You don't have the rules for custody, for dealing, for exchanging, for serving as a trader, for how you're going to actually operate a blockchain network inside the financial services industry. So we need both. They're both essential. And as you point out, the Senate is now considering the Clarity Act under Tim Scott's leadership in the Banking Committee and John Boozman's leadership in the House of the Senate Ag Committee. And we hope that they will take prompt action on that this fall during the October and November timeframe. I'd love to see the Clarity Act pass the Senate before the end of the year.
All right, so now here is the thoughts from the CEO of Galaxy Digital and why I think ultimately what he's saying is almost more important than what these senators and legislators are saying, because he talks to institutions every day. I mean, Galaxy Digital is a company that offers financial services and blockchain technology to help institutions with getting into crypto, whether that's through OTC, derivatives trading, crypto lending, asset management, etc. Galaxy Digital does it. Okay, so he's talking to institutions all the time, and this is his thoughts on why this market structure bill is very important.
The Genius bill for stablecoins was really, really important. And I think that's woken everybody up. What will be harder to pass, but more important, is this market structure bill. And I think the moment that gets done, a lot of the lobbying that we do in DC is over. You know, you're going to have given crypto everything it needs to succeed. And now it's time for our industry to build products that people use, to actually build utility onto these blockchains that makes people's lives better. And we haven't had a lot of that, right? The criticism has been, you know, show me a ZK app on your phone, or show me a blockchain app on your phone other than buying or selling tokens. That is going to shift immensely in the next 4 to 5 years, 1 to 5 years. And it's going to accelerate the moment we get, because now we're going to get a regulatory clarity, a legislative clarity, and a pro-crypto administration, right? As they said, banks can't not bank us just because we're crypto. That's symbolically really important. And so what we used to think of as the TAM, the realistic TAM of lots of our businesses, is going to grow exponentially.
All right, guys. So I'm going to try my best to freestyle this as I do in most videos, where it's just you and me, camera, my brain, the microphone. But some things I might have to look down and read because I have a lot of words in front of me here. But ultimately, the Clarity Act is going to be very important because it defines what is a cryptocurrency. What's a crypto asset? Is it a security? Is it a future? Is it a commodity? Well, we have a new definition for it. The Clarity Act now defines a digital commodity as a token whose value comes from its actual use on a blockchain. So it's not just investment, not just like the coin itself. Think of like ETH that's powering DeFi apps. Why is this big? It's because it hands secondary trading, which is like through exchanges, for example, secondary trading through exchanges, to go through the CFTC and not the FCC. So right now, there's kind of like the Genius Act actually said that it's neither a commodity or security. So neither the SEC or CFTC, they're like a lot of question marks. Now, this was going to say that now, as long as there's some sort of use that comes from a blockchain, it is now a digital commodity and will be ruled, and secondary trading will flow through the CFTC, which is great for cryptocurrency because throughout the history of cryptocurrencies, the CFTC has typically had a lot of more pro-crypto views and has been a lot more pro-crypto and more friendly to crypto. So the SEC's has a pretty heavy hand, and they haven't been so great over time. I know right now it's a little bit changed due to the new appointed SEC chair, Paul Atkins, but the CFTC is going to have a lighter touch, generally speaking. So for institutions, this is great because there's no more guessing what happens if they dip their toes and get into cryptocurrencies a little bit more. They don't want to trigger some sort of lawsuit, so massive. Now, clear rules means banks can now trade crypto like commodities. So that means just like oil, just like gold. This could be massive because now banks can go to exchanges and increase volumes, boost liquidity, stabilize prices for crypto, and ultimately, that's going to be a pretty bullish sign for cryptocurrency. So that is the main thing. Okay, another important part about the Clarity Act is that there is now going to be a certification that shows whether a blockchain is quote-unquote mature or not. And a mature blockchain is pretty simple. It basically says is if there is less than 20% of the tokens that are issued to one single control, so like a founder or a VC, then as long as there's less than 20% going to one person or one entity, then that means it is now mature. So as long as 80% essentially of the tokens or more are like public and can be traded against different people, different groups, then that is now a mature blockchain. And so that's great because certified projects are going to be, it's a way to certify projects, make sure they're more legit. There's also going to be big because there's going to be a lot less lawsuits regarding things like unregistered securities. And then it's also going to incentivize decentralization faster. So if there are any chains out there currently that have 30, 40, 50% owned by a founder or the foundation, like a Solana Foundation, for example, as long as there's 80% or more that are not owned by them, we're chilling. And it's going to spark, in my opinion, a wave of investor-ready blockchains. So that's awesome. Now, this one's a pretty awesome way to foster innovation. So third, the act creates a special exemption for crypto startups that want to raise funds. right now, when there's a sale like ICOs, they get absolutely slammed by regulatory issues where it's like illegal to do that, right? Well, now the Clarity Act is going to allow these startups to raise money for your blockchain through investment contracts that don't need SEC registration. So as long as you follow the anti-fraud rules and disclose your plans for investors, then you're good. And so these now mostly will be on these mature projects, but there will be non-mature projects that also have a cap to those investments. Another part of this act is that it exempts decentralized finance activities like running a node or building a user interface from heavy SEC or CFTC registration, as long as they're non-custodial, meaning that the users control their own keys. It also sets up CFTC rules for crypto exchanges and brokers, keeping anti-fraud powers intact. So this is great because DeFi yields, for example, are great. They're 5 to 10% yields on lending protocols. So this means that institutions can go out and basically test out DeFi projects and run DeFi activities without a lot of rules and regulations. So as long as they're not scamming anybody and they're doing it the right way, then they're going to be good. So big players out there, think big brokers, big banks, Fidelity, Vanguard, etc., can now explore different DeFi protocols and explore DeFi in a way they never could before. Now, the final part, which is a really, really, really important part as well, is that this Clarity Act now restricts the Federal Reserve with coming out and issuing their own form of digital currency. So this is great because it protects Bitcoin, it protects Ethereum, it protects all these other projects. It keeps it decentralized and makes it to where that, and it reassures investors, reassures institutions that decentralized assets are here to stay. So that is it, guys. That's the big 5 wins that I have today on Clarity Act. I hope this video helped you guys understand a little bit more about the Clarity Act. I've spent a lot of time, so I appreciate you guys if you guys thumbs up this video and subscribe. I plan to do a lot more videos on BMNR, SBET, ETHDATS, CryptoDATS, and even more companies like Galaxy Digital here with Mike Novogratz. So excited to explore some more videos. Thank you guys for tuning in.